Today, we're going to dive into a story that so many of us know and love, E.B. White's Charlotte's Web. When you boil it all down, it's really a story about survival, an incredibly unlikely friendship, and how a few simple words have the power to literally save a life. I mean, talk about an opening line. The book doesn't start with a happy, sunny farm scene. Nope. It kicks off with this absolutely terrifying question from an 8-year-old girl named Fern. Right from the jump, the stakes couldn't be clearer. This is a story about life and death. So who is that axe for? Well, it's for a tiny, newborn piglet, the smallest of his litter. And from the very first moments of his life, he's been judged as worthless, all because he's small. He gets slapped with the label runt, and in the no-nonsense world of a farm, what does that mean? It's basically a death sentence. He's seen as a drain, a weakling who's never going to amount to anything. And this little pig, well, we're about to get to know him as Wilbur. But Fern, she is not having it. She stands right up to her father. She doesn't have strength on her side, but she has this incredibly powerful question about what's fair. And that question, it just stops her dad in his tracks. It forces him to see this isn't just a weak piglet, it's a life worth saving. And guess what? It works. She saves him, names him Wilbur, and raises him just like a baby. It's this perfect, happy time. But of course, it can't last. Wilbur starts to grow, and pretty soon he's sold to Fern's uncle, Mr. Zuckerman. So his life has been saved, but his problems are just getting started. Over at the Zuckerman farm, things are different. Wilbur isn't the center of attention anymore. He's just another animal, stuck in a manure pile, and he is deeply, terribly lonely. He tries to make friends with the other animals. You know, the goose, the sheep, but he gets shut down every single time. He's just heartbroken. He doesn't just want food and a roof over his head, he needs a friend. And then, right when he's hit rock bottom, crying in the dark, he hears it. A small, quiet voice he's never heard before, and it makes him a promise. I'll be a friend to you. But he can't see who it is. He has to wait all night to find out. So who is his new friend? It's Charlotte, a large gray spider. And as you can see here, they are polar opposites. Wilbur is basically a sweet, anxious kid. Charlotte, on the other hand, is a realist. She's a hunter who very calmly explains that her job is to trap flies and drink their blood. She is this amazing combination of a fierce predator and a deeply loyal friend. It makes absolutely no sense, which is exactly why their friendship is so incredible. So, Wilbur finally has a friend and starts to feel safe. But just then, he learns the devastating truth about what the farmers have planned for him. A very dark cloud is hanging over his head. It's the old sheep who breaks the news, and she doesn't sugarcoat it one bit. She tells him all about the conspiracy. All this special treatment, all this food, it's not because they like him. They're fattening him up to be Christmas dinner, to be turned into bacon and ham. This news just shatters him. Forget being lonely, this is pure terror. He goes into a total panic, screaming for anyone to save him from this awful fate. And right in the middle of all that chaos, one voice cuts through the noise. It's Charlotte, and she doesn't just say, it'll be okay. She makes a direct, absolute promise. And with those words, the entire story shifts. A tiny spider has just promised she's going to save a pig's life. Okay, so Charlotte's made this massive promise. Now comes the hard part. How is she actually going to do it? Her plan isn't about strength. It's about being clever. It's about pulling off a little trick. And that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? How on earth can a tiny spider, whose only real skill is building webs, change the mind of a farmer who's planning on bacon? What can she possibly do? This is where Charlotte's brilliance really kicks in. She understands people. She realizes she doesn't need to change Wilbur. She just needs to change how Mr. Zuckerman sees Wilbur. Her logic is kind of funny and perfect. If she can fool a bug into flying into her web, she can definitely fool a man. So she works all night long, weaving 2 words into the center of her web. And the next morning when the farmhand Lurvy shows up with Wilbur's breakfast, he sees it. And to him, it looks like an absolute miracle. And those 2 little words, they change everything, instantly. Charlotte's plan doesn't just work, it works better than she ever could have dreamed. It sets off this incredible chain reaction. The Zuckermans are completely stunned. Wilbur goes from being future bacon to being this, like, holy pig. Of course, word gets out and it spreads like wildfire. Pretty soon, the farm is flooded with visitors who want to see the miracle pig. Wilbur is no longer just a pig. He's a celebrity. But Charlotte's a realist. She knows people have short attention spans. One miracle is amazing, but the buzz is going to fade. And when it does, Wilbur will be in danger again. To save him for good, she needs to do it again. And so she does. She enlists the grumpy rat Templeton to go find her a new word, and she weaves another message. This one's even better. Wilbur's not just some pig anymore. Now he's terrific. And this second miracle is what really seals the deal. Mr. Zuckerman thinks you can't just butcher a pig that's terrific. So Wilbur's fate is completely rewritten. He's no longer headed for the dinner table, he's headed to the county fair. So when you look at this first part of the story, what have we learned? Well, first, that one small voice, like Fern's, can stand up to something that's just plain wrong. Second, that real friendship can show up in the most unexpected places, like between a spider and a pig. And maybe most important of all, that words have incredible power. They can change how people see the world, and sometimes they can even save a life. I think this story so far gives us a pretty resounding yes. It drives home this powerful idea that compassion and cleverness together can create actual miracles. But it also leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What's the real cost of a miracle like that? And what does true friendship really demand from us in the end?